In today's video, I am going to be discussing why I sold my Bitcoin, as well as why I believe the altcoin season has just started. We are diving deep into the short-term price action, the macro charts, and everything you need to know about the altcoin season. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having an absolutely amazing weekend. In today's video, we are taking a look at the macro and the short-term price action of Bitcoin, going into explicit detail in regards to exactly what is happening and what you should be expecting next. We are also taking a look at what I believe is the beginning of the altcoin season, justifying that claim with historical price trends, current structural data, and everything else we need. By the end of today's video, you're going to have a deep and detailed understanding of not only what is happening, what to expect next, but the invalidations of our claims. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin, focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in VIP, where we post trading setups with exact entry prices, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to all of our group chats, our general chat, trading chart and education chat, daily video, news, help, and trade setup chat. Check it out, guys. Join up by clicking the pinned comment in the free channel, by clicking my name for more information, or these two links showing you a detailed inside view in the VIP channel, and our entire trading track record spanning back 45 full months. Check it out and let's dive on in. So as we said at the start, a few topics we're going over today, primarily Bitcoin's price action, what is happening, how's it developing, why I personally took profits on Bitcoin on positions I've been in from 16.5k, and why I also believe the altcoin season is either going to start now, / it is starting, or we're in a lot of trouble, and we're going to be discussing that in today's video as well. Let's start on that market data. 24-hour volume and 24-hour liquidations. We can see volume is down 1.6%. That should start to increase as we come out of the weekend. 24-hour liquidations are up 2.4%, so holding pretty neutral at a massive 495 million, with 354 million coming from long liquidations and 141 million coming from short liquidations. So we can see over the past 24 hours, as represented by that liquidation data, a whole heap of people were most likely longing Bitcoin, closing into that $100,000 region. And as we said in our prior video, if we were to break below this uptrending diagonal trend line, it is highly likely we were going to see a sweep into that 96k region. You can go back and watch our prior video. We were telling you that a breakdown of this trend line would likely result in a correction into 96, and that move downwards wiped out upwards of $500 million in long liquidations over the last 2 or 3 days. Since then, we have seen a small rebound in price action for Bitcoin, but that bounce thus far has not facilitated a reclamation of our prior highs. In fact, we've come back and retested that point, so we are potentially developing a lower high here, which could lead to more downward price action. We'll be discussing what needs to happen over here for Bitcoin to actually rise, and what happens if it does go lower. We'll also be taking a look at altcoins like we have already mentioned. Let's move over to the DXY. The DXY is doing pretty much what we were expecting. We told you in our prior video that there were really two scenarios, and scenario number one, which we believe was more likely, was that we would see deviation to the higher side of this macro channel before we then see a multi-month correction back into the lows, And this is where altcoin season will occur. When the DXY is dropping toward those lows at 100 again, we are likely going to see this altcoin season kick off. And this is why I believe another point of confluence is that we're starting altcoin season. Now, if the DXY somehow closes a weekly candle above this range and invalidates this deviation, we will see a continuation, and this will be very bearish for risk assets. However, I do not see that as a likely possibility. Put it this way, if that happens, I will be surprised. Now, I won't be caught off guard because, like always, we are aware of the possibility and we are aware of the impact that will have on the risk asset market, which is a correction. However, it is unlikely that is going to play out. Moving over to the DXY, the S&P 500, too many things going on in my head. S&P 500 back above 6,000, 4 days and 19 hours until weekly. We can see a pretty strong move toward the upside over here. We need to break above our prior high, and thus we will continue into new uncharted territory. Provided we remain above our prior higher high, sitting at 5,700, we are expecting continuations. Only a loss of this level will result in a correction. Until then, it is bullish. Let's move over into the video, guys. Now, before we do, if you want to support this content, support me making these videos, and most importantly, support yourself trading, you can sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX with the links down below. Why should you do that? Well, easy. You'll get 15% trading fee discounts for life. Now, that is a massive discount. For me personally, I've traded over $387 million in volume, I think, in the last 25 days. I have saved around about 80,000 US dollars in trading fees, literally just from that discount alone. So sign up via the link down below. That can build up to a 45% trading fee discount. Again, 15% base up to 45%. Use the links. We'll play an ad and we'll jump back in. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global, non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Starting on the altcoin market cap. Now, this is the most interesting part of what's going on. We'll come back to Bitcoin in a second, and I talked about this chart in our prior video, but I figured it was a little messy. There was a lot going on, so I've gone ahead and made it more clear, more visibly appealing to explain. It is very simple. We have got three things on this chart. We have got our orange lines, we've got our black lines at the bottom, and we've got our price candles. The orange linear chart is our Bitcoin price. The black linear chart is Bitcoin dominance. And the price candles is our total 3 market cap, representation of altcoins. We can see in our prior cycle, we have got a very key resistance level, and that is going to be the altcoin season trigger. The altcoin season trigger is established from the dead cap bounce high of the total 3 after the all-time high in the prior cycle. That then spans as a yearly level of resistance, in which remains as a yearly resistance until we eventually break through that point, resulting in a continuation into altcoin season. If we look at our current cycle, we have officially broken through that resistance again, the dead cap bounce high after the all-time high, a yearly level of resistance. We break through, we enter altcoin season. But that is not enough alone. We cannot just make our claims on structural levels. We have to look at how the price action historically performed and what Bitcoin dominance is doing. If we take a look at the first green circle, which is a middle green circle, which is the point of which the total 3 breaks through its yearly resistance, what we notice to occur at that exact time, Bitcoin is developing a local top after a breakout of its prior all-time high in that rally. So the first rally for Bitcoin post all-time high breakout at the local top of that rally is when the altcoin total 3 market cap breaks through its prior resistance, and we are seeing that play out exactly the same again. If we look at the current cycle, the prior all-time high level, this is the first strong rally post prior all-time high. We are potentially now creating a macro local top, not a macro top, a local top for Bitcoin, which we saw on the prior cycle when developed, the altcoin season started. Now, with that pullback in Bitcoin in the prior season and the current cycle, what did we notice? Bitcoin dominance at that moment begun to continue downwards. That is when the correction in Bitcoin dominance begun, and that is when altcoin season kicked off. So if we look at our historical price action over here and the data, we are seeing essentially, for now at least, and this can change, right? Everything is subject to change. But for now, the 3 out of the 3 validations we saw in the prior cycle that marked the beginning of altcoin season has occurred. It occurred last week. So this means, according to historical data, if we see it play out as we saw before, we are at the start of altcoin season now, and we are going to see a altcoin season rally. So I will remain bullish on altcoins. I'm going to remain in the claim that we have an altcoin season coming, whilst the total 3 remains above 840 billion. If we drop back below, okay, if we drop back below on the weekly, this yearly level, that is when, in my opinion, we may see this altcoin season go bust. Now, we can definitely retest this level numerous times. That is perfectly fine. We saw that in the last cycle, okay? We retested that for about 2 to 3 weeks before we continued, but we did not drop below it. So that is what I'm watching for. It looks pretty good for altcoins. The future is definitely bright, and everything is kind of lining up for that. Now, let's move over to the second pressing matter, and that is why I sold my Bitcoin. Now, you're probably asking, well, Whale, why the hell would you sell your Bitcoin? We're going to 400K, aren't we? Aren't we going to 300K? Michael Saylor says we're going to 34 million. Why would you sell at 96, 97,000? Are you stupid? The answer is no, I'm not stupid. I bought at 16.5K. In my head, I'm not a long-term investor, okay? I'm a trader by nature. I have always bought Bitcoin with the idea that I was going to eventually sell Bitcoin at some point to realize a profit. Now, I realized a significant sum of profit. My net worth increased by like 30% just by realizing my profit there. So it was a significant sum of profit I realized. Some will consider a life-changing amount of money. But the point is, ever since I bought at 16.5K, my target was 96. I've said it for months going upwards, all the way over here, 96K, 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 and I said I was going to sell at 96K, and I have sold at 96K. Now, there's another reason I'm happy that I sold Bitcoin. That is because based on the chart we just showed you, this chart right over here, we know that as per what we expect, if Bitcoin dominance drops, altcoins rise, there is more money to be made in altcoins than sitting in Bitcoin. I would much rather personally rotate my capital into altcoins and capitalize on falling Bitcoin dominance and an altcoin season than try to squeeze another 10, 15, 20% out of Bitcoin at the most. That is my personal opinion. Do I think Bitcoin could go higher? I definitely do. As what we saw in the prior cycle, we are expecting to see a local top here, and then we will likely see a continuation. However, from a pure profit-based perspective, I believe personally that there is more money to be made in altcoins from here on out, and that is why I'm rotating my positions into altcoins, closing out my Bitcoin positions, and taking profits. That is me personally, and we'll discuss the short term now. So let's take a look at the short term, guys. As we said in our prior video, we saw some pretty nasty bearish divergences develop right over here. Again, we were seeing that bearish divergence, and we told you guys that this is a pretty good sign of exhaustion, right? We were exhausting very close to that $100,000 region. And I actually said in my Telegram, I'm going to go try find it really quickly because it was a pretty interesting thing. I might have to scroll back a bit over here because a lot happens in this chat. We've got 600, nearly 700 members here, 24 hours talking. I'm just in here maybe 12 hours a day talking. But let's take a look over here. I think it is a little close over here. I'm just going to scroll up if I can't find it in like 5 seconds. Here it is. Perfect. This was about a month ago. I said, I can see it happening. Everyone waiting for $100,000 to sell, but it just doesn't go over. It gets close, but doesn't go over. And then we see this correction as everyone waits for 100,000. I think that is kind of what happened, right? Everyone was kind of waiting for $100,000. We're getting super, super close. They were like, I'm going to sell at 100,000. I'm going to buy over 100,000, whatever it is. And we got really close. And then we saw this pullback, and that ended up just liquidating like $500 million on long positions. And I think that is kind of where we're sitting here. And people are noticing that money is going to slowly rotate now into altcoins, according to Bitcoin dominance dropping and the total market cap rising. So let's talk about Bitcoin. What needs to happen now for Bitcoin to push against 100,000? So that's kind of that next level, the psychological level, 100,000. That's what everyone wants to know. There is literally one level I'm watching. There is one level I am watching, and this is simply going to be this downtrending diagonal resistance. That is it. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I am watching this downtrending diagonal resistance, okay? And from a horizontal perspective, I am simply watching our prior local high. If we are able to clear both of these levels, our downtrending diagonal resistance and our prior high, I believe it is very likely we at least push back upwards to retest the $99,000 to mid $99,000 region, potentially into 100,000. But below this trend line, I will remain short-term bearish for corrections for Bitcoin, potentially as low as 95,000. The reason I say 95,000 is because that is where I believe we will retest the 200 moving average, but I also believe we have a VRPV gap here, which will likely fill if we come into that range and then continue upwards. So that is how I'm playing it. Two scenarios. I am playing for short-term pullbacks into this range, find liquidity, then reverse into 100,000. That is going to that local top and that local pullback we saw back in 2021 cycle that we will likely see here, where money will rotate into altcoins and Bitcoin dominance will fall. That is what I'm looking for. Or scenario number two, we just skip that whole correction, ignore this liquidity gap over here, and we just push directly through this resistance, and the confirmation will be the clearance of that prior high. And in my head, that is going to be confirmation for continuations. That is how I am playing the price action right now, guys. That is what I think you should be looking at, and that is what I'm looking at for my own personal positions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic rest of your day, guys, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video. See you then.